Imagine you are in a really high-end restaurant, or maybe like a sleek, minimalist boardroom. The lighting is perfect, the aesthetic is flawless, and the audio is pristine. But uh, where is the massive heat-generating amplifier that is powering all of that?
Well, it is probably right under your knees.
Exactly. Welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking at a spec sheet from HDTVSupply for the QSC SPA2-60 two-channel power amplifier. And the mission for you today isn't just to, list off a bunch of specs.
Great. We are exploring how this $795 piece of hardware achieves total invisibility.
Right, without sacrificing power, which starts with its incredibly tight physical design constraints. I mean, it is basically an audio ninja.
It really is. Being a 1RU half rack with enclosure, well, that forces some incredibly clever engineering. Like, to keep the footprint that small, QSC uses Euroblock connectors instead of, those bulky XLR or RCA inputs.
Oh, which saves a ton of idle space.
Yeah.
You just strip the bare wire, screw it directly into the block, and plug it in.
Yeah, that completely eliminates the physical clearance you would normally need for long cable connectors just sticking out the back.
Right. And despite that tiny size, it pushes a solid 60 watts per channel, or up to 250 watts if bridged at 70 or 100 volts.
Exactly. And by bridging those channels, you can combine their power to drive an entire daisy chain of ceiling speakers across a really large room.
All from a box the size of a hard drive.
Yeah, because modern architecture just hates dedicated equipment closets. Companies want decentralized audio that mounts directly beneath the conference table or behind a display panel using the included brackets.
But, I mean, cramming a 250-watt bridged amplifier directly under a wooden table right next to people's knees creates an immediate physical problem.
Heat.
Right, heat. Normally, that kind of power generates intense heat, and heat requires whirring cooling fans. And obviously, nobody wants a fan screaming during a delicate sales pitch.
Or a hot metal box just roasting their legs. So QSC bypassed that thermal bottleneck by making the amplifier entirely convection-cooled.
Meaning there are zero moving parts.
Zero moving parts. It dissipates the heat naturally.
So it operates almost like a massive heat sink on a high-end gaming motherboard.
Yeah, that is a great comparison. The chassis itself pulls heat away from the internal components and disperses it into the ambient air.
Completely silently.
Completely. It just leverages the natural airflow of the room to do that. But, convection cooling alone isn't enough to handle the thermal load if the amplifier is running inefficiently.
Okay, so how does it stay cool while doing all of that?
Well, the silent cooling only works because it pairs with an Energy Star qualified Class D topology.
Oh, right. Because unlike traditional Class AB amps that constantly bleed excess power as heat, a Class D amplifier rapidly switches the output devices on and off.
It is wildly efficient. That is what keeps the thermal footprint low enough to hide the unit under a desk in the first place.
Okay, but how does an amp know when to work and when to chill out? I mean, is it basically taking a nap until someone speaks into a mic?
Basically, yeah. That Class D efficiency pairs perfectly with the unit's auto-ramp circuit. Yeah, if the system detects exactly 25 minutes of inactivity, say a meeting wraps up early and the room empties out, it seamlessly powers down into standby mode.
Which would cut power consumption and drastically drop the heat generation.
Exactly.
But I always wonder how those circuits avoid being triggered by random electrical line hum.
Yeah.
If it is listening for a signal to wake back up, it has to be able to differentiate between actual audio and just background cable noise.
Well, it relies on highly calibrated threshold mechanics. The detection circuit is programmed to completely ignore the low-voltage noise floor.
Oh.
But the millisecond a genuine audio signal crosses that specific voltage threshold, the auto-ramp circuit triggers.
So the amp springs from standby to full power instantaneously.
Instantly. It avoids that sluggish warm-up delay that older amps suffer from, so you never clip the first syllable of someone speaking into the microphone.
That is amazing. It fundamentally redefines how we interact with commercial hardware. I mean, the absolute best commercial technology, the kind that removes itself from your awareness completely.
Right, doing its job perfectly without ever being seen or heard.
It provides the illusion of absolute simplicity.
While hiding incredibly complex thermal and electrical engineering just inches from where you sit.
Yeah. So as physical hardware shrinks and becomes completely decentralized, hiding under our tables and behind our displays, it leaves you with an interesting question.
What's that?
Will the traditional massive AV rack room completely disappear from corporate architecture within the next decade? It is definitely something to ponder the next time you are in a perfectly lit, beautifully sounding space. Take a peek under the table. You might be surprised by the invisible tech silently sleeping, just waiting for a signal to spring into action.